Rainier Arms Apex Club brings you this episode of the QA. It is the end of the month, which means it is time for the QA. Thank you guys very much for joining me for this episode of the August 2020 edition of the QA. My name is Dave Tim from Guns and Tactics, and I do appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. First things first, if you want to see your question get on the show, the best way, absolutely 100%, is to email us, and that is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. Send on over your email, it'll get forwarded to me. You can certainly leave a comment in the comment section below or whatever platform you're watching this on, and I do my best to try to respond to all comments, but sometimes I might miss one here and there, so it's always best to email address shown below. We don't have a ton of questions this month, but we do have some good ones. As always, I do have to give thanks to Rainier Arms for sponsoring this episode of the QA, so it's always cool to have them on board. This first one is from Nathan. Do you mind giving us a rundown on how using a suppressor for a precision rifle affects accuracy with modern suppressors out there? I'm particularly interested in 22 cans for NRL 22. Is there any downside to running a suppressed rifle? Downsides. Some states may not allow you to travel with it. Obviously, it adds expense, it adds weight, it adds length, with sometimes getting in and out of a barricade could cause you a little bit of an issue. Most precision rifle matches don't use a shot timer like 3-gun and action, so you don't have to worry about that. However, if you were shooting like one of the action rifle or practical rifle sports, you want to make sure that obviously the shot timer can pick up your shots, but like I said, in precision rifle, that's usually not a big deal. So this might be a good video topic on its own. I'll probably add this to the list, but to answer your question now, since you were nice enough to send it, a lot of times it doesn't affect accuracy at all as far as the group size and the accuracy, but it can affect your point of impact. So obviously it's always good to shoot in zero without the suppressor. Put the suppressor on and see if there is a point of impact change, and if so, either readjust your zero or note that in your app or your data card or whatever it is, so that way you know to make the proper adjustments if you're going to shoot suppressed versus unsuppressed. Now I shoot, my app of choice is Strelok Pro. I absolutely love it. Part of the reason is because it does have a function that if you switch ammunition or switch to a suppressor or something like that, you can program in that change, and then it will give you data based on that change. So you can have one rifle with load A, and that's your zero. Load B, you can tell it, yep, it's a 1.5 inches, low, and whatever. Then it will give you all that data. If you switch to load B, it'll give all your data appropriate to that. So you can make another load with, load B could be your suppressed load, and you could take that change and note it in there. So with my 22, my Voodoo shooting suppressed, I don't think I noticed any point of impact change with my regulator. If it was very slight. And I actually shot my last NRL Local 22 match with it suppressed, and I shot just fine. Any misses were all me. The other nice thing with the 22 is that it's just considerate, to your other shooting partners there. It's nice. That's the benefits of it. Obviously, some people do report accuracy improvements. They say that the gun shoots better. The barrel harmonics are improved. Some people argue with me that, barrel harmonics shouldn't be affected. You can't tell me that. Well, they have ballistic tuners that basically is just a small piece of metal that rotates to change the harmonics, and it opens and closes the group. So harmonics is a real thing, and some guns just really, really like shooting suppressed. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If you're shooting a good quality modern suppressor, you should not have a big change of accuracy. Again, point of impact might certainly change, but accuracy shouldn't really diminish. And if it does, it could be a harmonics thing. You might have to try a different load. You might have to try changing the mount or readjusting the mount, if you will. Maybe try a different muzzle device, but it shouldn't have any negative effects on that. Thank you very much for that question, Nathan. I do appreciate it. Question number 2 here is from Brad. I'd like to get your advice on running buffers and springs. We do have a couple of videos on buffers. I'll post cards up here to those, but I've done 2 different videos now on buffers, kind of a 101 and then how to choose the right buffer. So if you haven't seen those, I would definitely check that out. But would you suggest trying various buffers or springs first, or do a mixture of both? For reference, he used to have, dude, I'm sorry to hear about the boating accident. Roscoe 20-inch, Faxon 16, Ballistic Advantage 12.3, all have standard carbine and springs. The 20 and 16 have adjustable gas blocks. I would, for the 20-inch, if that's more of like a precision build, I would certainly also check out the JP Silent Captured Spring System. Awesome, awesome system, and then it gives you a lot of tunability with different springs. They also have a version that has different weight and adjustable mass that you can add by either tungsten or spring spring. Tungsten or steel weights, and you can adjust the mass as well. So I would definitely also not discount the JP Silent Captured Spring System. I love how smooth it makes the gun, not only just in cycling, but also in felt recoil and just the cyclic feel of the gun, if that's a technical term, but I do like it. It's a good system, but they are more expensive. Otherwise, for your guns here, the other ones, the 16 and the 12.3, my default go-to is a standard spring with an H1 buffer. That's just where I generally start with everything, and then you could adjust from there. But if it runs with the H1, and again, check out that video, we talk about ejection pattern, we talk about how to test for that, things like that. But I would say start with an H1 standard spring, probably going to be good to go with all those. And then if you find you do have some running issues, where the ejection pattern is, how the ejection velocity arc is it properly ejecting, then you can go ahead and make adjustments. So yeah, an adjustable gas block obviously allows you to fine tune that a little bit more as well. And then you also said, thanks for the great content. Do appreciate the kind words, really do appreciate it. Can recommendation for 11.5 inch 5.56, but 30 cal, so I can also use it on a hunting rifle. That was from Rusty. The quick comment, honestly man, Dead Air Sandman S, love it. It's a 30 cal suppressor. I run it on my 5.56 all the time. I've ran it on the 308. Is it the most effective? No, but it certainly works. The L is more effective on a 308. I actually have the Sandman K, S, and L. They're amazing suppressors. Muzzle devices are awesome. Quick release, detached mechanism is awesome. So that would be the McCann recommendation for an 11.5 inch 5.56 gun, Dead Air Sandman S. This question is from Paul. Have you ever built a semi-auto 1022? So do you have a parts list? If not, do you have a good recommendation for an AR style 22 long rifle? Semi-auto 1022, I did a kind of, not really a build like where I'm actually buying a stripped receiver, but I've taken a 1022 and upgraded the trigger, upgraded the bolt, things like that. So that would be a good video to do. I haven't really done a whole lot of content on 1022s, and I really do like the 1022 platform. That's actually one of its own platform of guns now, where you can make a 1022 type gun without using a single Ruger part, which is actually pretty cool. And if you can consider all the guns ever made that started out as a model and then have, you know, springed forward to be their own platform, there's really not a lot of guns you can say that about. So that's a whole nother topic out of itself, but the 1022 is really cool. As far as a parts list, I don't have a parts list per se, but like I said, I would like to do a video on upgrading your 1022. I've used the parts from Kidd, K-I-D-D. Amazing, amazing parts. By far some of the nicest triggers I've ever felt, and in my opinion, the nicest 1022 triggers. Their bolts are amazing, their small parts are amazing. If Kidd makes the part for the 1022, I would just recommend getting that. They do have complete guns as well. Here's the only downside with Kidd, is they're expensive. You pay for quality. You literally pay a lot of money, but you get a lot of quality, and I cannot say enough good things about Kidd stuff. I really, really like their guns. So that would be that. AR style 1022, or excuse me, AR style 22. There is some newer ones on the market that I don't have as much experience. I want to say Tippmann is even making one now. Yeah, the paintball gun company. And Chris, I want to say, is the other one. I'd have to double check that. Hang on, let me check. Yes, it was Chris. It is the DMK22C. And then also there is the Tippmann one as well that I was telling you about. Now, those are newer guns on the market that I've heard good things about, but I have not shot them, so I'm not giving them a recommendation. I'm just telling you, I've heard decent things. However, right now, my choice for an AR-22 or AR-15 style 22 rifle is still the Smith & Wesson M&P 15. It has its own magazine, but they're generally pretty reliable, and the gun generally runs really, really well. The downside is it's a polymer receiver upper type system, so you're not going to have the same weight of a real AR for training, which is why I got the AR-22 as a training gun, or showing new shooters, youth shooters, on how to introduce them to the AR platform is why I got it. Eventually my kids will shoot it. There is an adapter on the market, so it can take regular handguards. So if you have a favorite handguard of your choice that you're trying to mimic, there's a little adapter made by a few different companies that converts the front threads to a standard barrel nut thread. There's a little bit of a gap. The new version of that gun actually has an M-LOK handguard, which I think is pretty decent. I would probably just stick with that. But right now, my choice for an AR style 22 is the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. You can put in different triggers. You can adjust those a little bit, and then it's easy to clean, easy to work on. It's just generally a really good gun. I've had a lot of rounds through mine with no issues. So that's my recommendation there. Do have to give a shout out to Rainier Arms and the Apex Club. If you guys are like me and you like the new cool stuff and you want it at a discount with free ground shipping, then you gotta check out the Rainier Arms Apex Club. It's kind of like your favorite online exclusive membership, but yet your favorite warehouse members only discounts and pricing, and it's that, but it's for the gun stuff with Rainier Arms. For a low price of $99.99, so a penny less than $100, you get free ground shipping, exclusive early access, and a discount on everything that Rainier Arms sells. And you guys know Rainier, they get all the cool, newest stuff, and they do a great job of keeping it in stock and adding new products to their inventory. They are adding stuff every week. They ship out of the Midwest so they can get coast to coast very quick, and they're just good, awesome people. If you want to learn more, check out the Rainier Arms Apex Club, and we thank them for their support of the QA. Now this next one is from Drew, and Drew, I'm not going to give any more information other than that, but you sent me a very great email inquiring about red dot sights on handguns for law enforcement use. So Drew, if you're watching this, I'm going to give you a call or email you so we can talk more about this, but basically I commend you for, on behalf of your agency, looking to get more information about red dot sights on handguns. I totally am willing to help out. I love the red dot sight on a handgun. I do think not only is it just the future, but it's kind of becoming the now and the norm. I still don't think the perfect red dot sight exists, although I will say Trijicon obviously makes great stuff, and this Holosun or Holosun, I still don't know how to pronounce it. Holosun is really impressing me. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Holosun. I've been fortunate enough to get a couple of samples, and I really like them. They've impressed me more than I thought they would. So I do think we're starting to see more and more really, really solid offerings for the product side of it, and then obviously comes the training. So we have the hardware that's really coming up well. We have the software, which is the training, which I'll give you more information about. But you had questions about the tech, the teaching of the draw, testing with holsters, co-witnessing, training, policy, all that stuff, which is just awesome that you're looking into that. So I give you credit for that on wanting to move forward. So thanks for reaching out, man. I'm really honored and humbled that you would come to me for information. I really do appreciate it. Next question is from P-Karma, I think. Is it P-Karma or P-Karma? I'm not really sure what your username. Wondered about your Maxim Defense PDX kit. You didn't mention buffer tube, and do they include one? Yes, they do. And I do like that PDX upper kit. I'll throw a link up there to that video where I reviewed the upper. You can get it as a kit, and it does come with a buffer tube if you get their brace or stock, depending on your configuration for their small PDW style stuff, because it is a proprietary buffer, spring, and tube, and a proprietary carrier. Maxim braces and stocks are all part of a system, if you will, that has the tube, the brace, the stock, all kind of as a complete package. Depending on what you're buying, it may or may not come with the buffer and spring if it uses standard mil spec stuff, but it's all complete. They have a great webpage that kind of explains it, has really good pictures, so you see exactly what you're getting. But all of the Maxim Defense stuff is just super, super high quality, machined really well. I'm a little biased to them because they're also a Minnesota company, but they make good stuff. So yes, it does come with a buffer tube. This one is from Eli regarding sights. I've been unable to find this answer anywhere. Well, I'm honored that you came to me. Suppressor height sights for use with a compensator on a pistol. I'd like to turn a Glock 40 into a race gun, but would prefer night sights over a red dot. Wondering if you can get HD XR sights or if I need to get bright and tough suppressor height sights. First off, a Glock 40, which is a 10 millimeter, into a race gun. That is going to be a heck of a race gun, let me tell you. Most race guns are like 9, 38 Super, stuff like that. But if you want to do a 10, kudos to you, because 10 is one bigger than 9. Anyways, as far as suppressor sights with a compensator, you don't need that. Generally, you're only going to run suppressor sights when you are shooting a suppressor or a red dot, and you want them to be higher up so you can use them as backup sights with the red dot. In my opinion, if you're not shooting suppressed or with a red dot, there's no advantage of getting suppressor height sights. You'd be better off getting standard sights because they sit a little bit lower, and in my opinion, it's just natural and more easily acquirable when you're presenting that gun if the sights are low to the slide. That's why I also prefer milling of slides, is because if you were going to use a red dot, I know you said you're not, but that way it sits lower to the slide versus having this big offset, so you have to kind of align something. So we're used to aligning the handgun in the barrel and our hand, things like that. I want to have the sights as close to that as possible because that's just more natural. So yeah, I would just get your HD XR sights. if that's what works for you. Otherwise, if you're building a race gun, generally for me, I prefer a little bit narrower of a front sight so I have a little bit of room, but that's personal preference. You're going to be aligning the corners anyway. We'll probably do a video on handgun sights. We should do a video on that. That's something I really haven't done, but I plan on doing it. It's on the to-do list. This question is from Dylan. What are tools you recommend for a gun owner? Not really a new gun owner, but someone who likes to work on their own guns. Maybe brands I would suggest. Also, a cool idea would be a shop tour video. That would be kind of a cool idea. I don't have this huge immaculate shop. It's not like, hundreds of thousands of square feet or anything. You're pretty much looking at most of my shop. I mean, there's some other stuff over there. I have an editing office, but those, that have been here, when they come here to either pick up a gun or have me work on a gun, like local customers and stuff, because this is where I run my business, they come in and they're like, oh, this is where the videos are. And they kind of have this weird look, like they thought it would maybe be bigger or more grand or more impressive or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a shop video someday. That might be kind of a cool idea. Anyways, to answer your questions, I generally like quality tools. So if it's good quality, it's probably going to do well for you. Some of the basic things you're going to need a small hammer. Honestly, the hammer that I keep going back to is just the Brownells Gunsmith hammer. It's my first hammer, so it has a little bit of sentimental value, but it just works. The heads are replaceable with either brass or Delrin, so something like that would be fine. However, you can get numerous different small hammers. You're not going to need like a claw, lumber, wood type hammer. You're just going to need a small hammer for driving in and out pins, things like that. As far as punches go, I like Starrett punches. They're more of a machinist grade punch, so they're a little harder. Some of the cheap punches that you're going to find at the big box stores are going to bend, they're going to break. And even if you're using good quality punches, sometimes you're going to come across that one pin that's stubborn and you break a punch. That happens. Roll pin punches, I use the Brownells roll pin punches. But as far as punches, those are solid. Bits, you're going to need some definite bits and a screwdriver handle. I like the Weha and Wura bits and handles, and then I also really like Borka tools bits. In my opinion, those are they are the nicest bits that I've found on the market, the Borka ones. And there'll be some future content coming up on Borka tools that I think you'll like, but I absolutely love Borka's bits. Their torque driver, amazing stuff. So you're going to need bits, handle, torque driver, Borka stuff I would all look at for that. Punches, hammers. As far as vice fixtures, it might be kind of a good idea to look into some of that, depending on if you're working on ARs or stuff like that. Also, one of the other things I got that I really like is this tray from Tolster, and this works really great if you're working on stuff. Is just to put the little small parts and it prevents it from rolling away. So that works really great. Actually, when I built this workbench, it actually has a lip right here that you can't see, but the trim is about a 1/4 inch higher than the work surface, and then it's caulked. I know, I don't want to say how a lot of people say it, so it's caulked, whatever, it's sealed. But part of why I did that is so that way if I was working on something and something rolled, it would get caught on the lip, or if I spilled some cleaning fluid, it would get caught on the lip. And this tray kind of would accomplish that same thing. So that's one of the little things that I kind of thought of when I was building this workbench, is to do that. Mat would be nice. Gloves when you're cleaning guns and getting all gunky, that's always helpful. Eye protection. And then as far as like the specific AR tools or shotgun tools or 1911 tools, that is like video topics in and of itself. So maybe we'll do a focused tool video. I think that would be a great idea. This last question is from, I think it's pronounced, well, I know it's pronounced Jeremy, but for people that spell your name like this, Jeromy, like as a kid, I always wanted to pronounce it Jerome, because like Jerome with an E would be Jerome, but then you add a Y, why isn't it Jerome instead of Jeremy? But anyways, I digress. Last question is from Jeremy. With all of the different optics on the market, 1 to 4s, 1 to 5, 1 to 6s, 1 to 8s, 1 to 10s, do I really need all of the magnification? Well, honestly, it's going to kind of depend on what your purpose is. So 1 to 4 is generally still one of my favorite optics. Like I still have a sweet spot in my heart for the Trijicon AccuPoint 1 to 4 with the green triangle. It just works. It's simple. In my opinion, it's still one of the best red dot-like LPVOs on the market. It's lightweight at like 14 ounces. Don't have to worry about batteries. It's daytime bright. Obviously, it has the con of the nighttime stuff, but it's still just a great all-around LPVO. Now, obviously, if you're going to be shooting at distance, yeah, magnification is really nice. However, when you add magnification, you lose exit pupil, generally speaking, unless they increase the objective lens, which is the front lens, which the Adiball 1-10 and the Vortex 1-10 both have larger objective lenses than some of the other larger magnification scopes on the market. However, you're giving up a little bit with field of view, with weight. It's going to be heavier. You're probably going to be more expensive. And then again, that exit pupil, which is what is critical when your pupil, your eye, is trying to line up with the scope to make, you have a good sight picture. When you see those black ring, that black donut appear, it's generally because your eye is not aligned to the exit pupil. And when you increase the magnification, the exit pupil starts out like this at 1x, but then it gets smaller, and thus making eye alignment more critical. So you are giving up some stuff. Now, the 1-5s, the Steiner 1-5, the Vortex 1-6, the Collis, those are all super high-end scopes, but even some of the more entry-level Vortex, the Bushnells, the Burrises, there's a lot of really nice 1-6 scopes out there. I'd say right now that's probably the sweet spot of offering, like you can get the most bang for your buck. There is not as many 1-8s, and then obviously there's not as many 1-10s. Now, in the future, I do plan on having a video on kind of the 1-10s. Adiball was nice enough to send me a 1-10 for review. I'm just waiting on a mount for it because it uses a 35mm tube, so it's not quite as common. But I really am looking forward to making some content with that. I was really impressed with the glass, looking at it, kind of doing my unboxing and kind of checking it out. It felt like a really good scope. And I'll also be comparing that then to the Vortex 1-10 as well. There's a ton of reviews on the Vortex 1-10, so you can check those out from some good reputable sources. But as far as what you need, it all comes down to what your mission is. And I know there's the saying, the mission drives the gear, and I feel like it's gotten overused and overplayed, and then people rely on like, oh, I gotta have this to do this, and sometimes you just gotta roll with what you got. You only have one rifle, you gotta have to figure out how to use that rifle to solve the task at hand, versus, oh, if I know it's a Friday and I'm doing this, I'm gonna grab this one. Well, we don't all have that luxury. So, it's going to make your target easier to see with more magnification, but it might not necessarily make it easier to hit. You still have to have good fundamentals, but it's going to make the target easier to see. That's what you get with gaining magnification. Maybe we'll do more LPVO content if there's something that you guys want to see. Sound off in the comment section below. I always take requests. Now, before we give away our prize, I do want to ask you guys, how do you think things are going? We want to hear from you. If there's videos that you want to see us make, go ahead and put your suggestions in. You can either send them to the email address that we listed earlier, which I'll post here in a little bit. You can leave a comment. You can message us on social media. But if there's content that you want to see or things that you're interested in, sound off. We want to hear from you. Now, one of the things that I did was kind of off topic lately was my UTV project. And the reason why I did that is because, number one, most of the people that I know that are into firearms are also into side-by-sides, four-wheelers, doing stuff outside. So it's kind of a similar interest. Additionally, a lot of the matches that I've gone to, people have been using four-wheelers and side-by-sides to get to the different stages, to navigate, to haul their gear back and forth. And I was like, I always wanted, like, man, I wish I had a side-by-side or a four-wheeler to haul my gear and do this and do that. And as I'm getting older and don't like, hustling and bustling and everything else and carrying all my gear, that would be pretty cool to have. So those are some of the reasons why I did it, and I wanted to share that journey with you. I wanted to share the knowledge. I wanted to share kind of some of the craftsmanship, some of the crafting that went into everything, and how the project proceeded. I wanted to share that knowledge because I was interested in it, and I thought you guys might have been too. So if you liked the series, great. I'll be honest, it doesn't have a ton of views. There is a playlist, the UTV playlist. I'll put a link up there, but it doesn't have a ton of views. So if you like it, great. If you want to check it out, great. There's a few more videos coming, and then I'll have an article as well. So that's my, just question to you is see how you're doing. If you're still watching at this point, I do appreciate it. All right, let's give away the prize. All right, it is number 10. I had it set to 1-10 by default. Did we even have 10 questions? Hang on. We had 9, so I guess I'm going to give it to Jeremy because you were number 9. So Jeremy, I'll be in touch with you to get you a prize from Rainier Arms. If you have a question and you want to see it on the show, please send us an email to theqa@gunsandtactics.com. I love engaging with you guys. I try to monitor all the comments and respond, and I know Rex does the same for his videos. So if there's something you have a question about, please send us an email. Email address shown below, or you can go ahead and leave us a comment. I'll do my best to catch that. If you guys like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're new here, do appreciate it. And as always, we want to grow, we want to do bigger and better things, and we need your help to keep the channel growing. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day. We work really hard to make content that we hope you as a shooter would enjoy. Subscribe to our channel, Check out our featured videos and playlists, and if you have a question firearms related, go ahead and send an email to the address shown on the screen to be entered into our monthly QA series.